Hey all, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at some makeup with Anastasia Beverly Hills and then also chatting about OpenAI. I won't be doing a full this is everything you need to learn about either of those topics, but I will just be pulling out some of the things I think are kind of interesting or neat OpenAI. And this isn't a full unboxing because I already took some of the stuff out of the box. More so, I'm just gonna play around with, see what's in there, because I haven't actually gotten into the whole thing. So now that we're got that out of the way, we're gonna kind of transition from one to the other. One of the most interesting things, like I said, this is a full retelling of OpenAI, just some of the conversation points I thought were kind of neat. And one of them is that OpenAI had a founding member of Elon Musk, which I did not realize because, you know, the person in the news right now is Sam Altman. So I thought it was kind of interesting that Elon Musk was in there. I feel like he's kind of subtly on a lot of stuff. And also the half where this might be interesting to some people who don't realize it, that OpenAI has this principles over profit, and it's also technically like a research lab. So it was founded as a nonprofit rather than a normal profit sharing, and that's why in 2019 it ended up becoming a capped profit company, so it could get venture capital and actually get some employee stakes, like pre-IPO shares. Stuff like that is important for a lot of technology companies because a lot of people aren't going to work if there's not going to do a big payoff. So I thought that was kind of interesting about where some of this stuff is going. Now to actually look at the makeup, are these stickers? I think these are stickers. Yeah, oh, they're stickers. So we got a bunch of stickers in this set, which we'll see. I might use some of those. They're not really that interesting, but they've got this kind of flight theme for Anastasia Beverly Hills, so I think that'll be kind of cool. Which this is like the whole travel case, so I'll show it to you in a second. It's meant to look like luggage. So let's see, can you get the, yeah, okay, you can get most of it in the frame. There we go. So it's meant to look like luggage, so the stickers make sense. The little flight ticket makes sense. I love the theming. It's very pink Christmas going on, so I'm gonna do that. The other thing that came in the little bag is, it looks like this is supposed to be like a cover, like when you go and you have the cover for your bag. It looks like this is what this is supposed to be. It's quite nice, but I don't understand why you need a dust cover. The container's really cool, but also you might not want to keep it after a while. It is very pretty though, so I'm gonna do one shot like this. Let's see if I can open it. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. Well, I mean, it does have a mirror, but like I said, I don't really see somebody using it. Just having it around as a display piece for a while is cool, but the mirror's a little impractical. So yeah. Anyway, also talking about OpenAI, something else I thought was really interesting was definitely how they ended up moving from one piece to the next as far as their CEO. So they fired Sam Altman, right? And they immediately put their CTO in as the interim. This is Mira, and they were the interim CEO for like a day, and that was it. And then they put in a guy who used to be the CEO of Twitch, which, like I said, very interesting, but the fact that they had people so early is kind of really telling about what was going on. Like, there's something about how this was done when the board replaced Sam that I think is somewhat fascinating around the idea of how the transition happened. Obviously, this wasn't something that spontaneously happened. It was planned. Like, you don't just get somebody from Twitch in. I think he wasn't working at Twitch at the time. I think he used to be the CEO of Twitch, but you get these like high profile names and it's not internal to the company, this isn't really something that like happens that quickly. This is very glossy. But it looks like this came with 2 glosses. That's cute. I like both of them are Hoodie High Shine. Anyway, so yeah, I thought that was really interesting about how quickly they ended up going from one CEO to another and installing somebody. Because within the own company, I can see that making sense. But bringing somebody in that quickly, like they had to have been in talks. Like they must have been doing something. And I kind of wonder how early they would have been talking to this guy, right? Like, would they have told him the day before, hey, we need you to come in? Do we, like, the 2 day, like, weeks before? That's an amazing kind of secret to hold, that, hey, we're gonna do this massive takeover, well, not takeover, but, you know, firing of the company CEO and founder, and yeah, you're going to be it. Like, that's crazy thing about how that must have stayed under wraps for that long. So that's one of the things I thought was just very interesting about how OpenAI went down for a while. Usually when you fire a CEO, they take a, like, they'll ask somebody interimly to hang out for a while, and then they'll kind of like do this big search. So having somebody that quickly, very interesting. Oh, this is a mirror. So that's, you know, you have 2. I don't know about this set. It's cute, but also like a little weird. Because I do like this. Like, this is helpful. This is useful. A lot of this other stuff feels like it's just taking up space. Like, you'll want to display it for a little bit, but probably not keep it. Anyway, that's one of the ones I thought was very interesting about OpenAI and what happened with it in particular. I think the other thing is how Microsoft quickly hired somebody, like, well, how quickly they're able to hire them and then also potentially hire an entire company, like Sam Altman and Brockman, who is the president of the board or chairman of the board, and how they both, well, fired and left the company, and then within a day had offers from, or in a deal on November, was it 20th? So like 2 days later, already had a new position ready to be built out with Microsoft. And I do understand why Microsoft would want to like keep it from going down, or at least like think about where this technology was going, because at a certain point, I don't think OpenAI can really like exist without certain key players. There are certain companies, like once you reach a certain level, like Apple, you can continue on without Steve Jobs, but some companies aren't that far. They still need their founding team, or there really isn't anything. There's a common phrase that you invest in people in startups, and I know this isn't quite a startup, but same area. A lot of these technology companies is you invest in people over ideas, and that's because, you know, a great idea is nothing without great execution. So that is kind of really interesting for me with the whole movement, is how quickly Microsoft was trying to save it and trying at least to save the technology, because to them they're like, well, if it exists in OpenAI or if it exists at Microsoft, then that will at least save their investment, because there's a very big chance of like just all of OpenAI's information like going down, which goes to the second thing I thought was very interesting about OpenAI, and that was the whole how 738 of the employees, including Murati, several of the C-suite people also said, hey, I'm going to leave this company and I'm gonna go follow Sam at Microsoft. And then Microsoft's actually saying like, yeah, any of the people who are interested in leaving and coming over, we're gonna offer positions to, and you get to stay. Okay, so they gave us 2 wood pencils. I actually honestly hate wood pencils for lip liner, because I hate sharpening them, but it's still a nice color. Anyway, so that's one of the things I thought was very interesting for OpenAI, and the idea of like, hey, this company's going down, and the board just like you might have just wrecked your own company by how much this blew up. Because if you have all 738 of 770 employees, like, there's no way you can make OpenAI work with just the 40 people left, right? Like, this company would have gone straight to zero. If you could have short sold a company at that particular moment, OpenAI was looking like all the investment would have just gone up in flames. ChatGPT was down. It really showed how, you know, normally you don't have the same kind of, a few people leave here and there, but really that company would have just died. The other thing I really think will be interesting, we'll just see it in time, is how OpenAI deals with its reputation problem now, right? Like, you cannot be at that company. It's gonna feel very tenuous, because I mean, Sam did get brought back, or at least that's the latest update, but it's gonna be very interesting to see, like, hey, are they actually gonna, are people still gonna be there? I think it really woke people up to how fragile some of these startups are, and startups aren't in the greatest place, and AI has just had its boom, but it's also not like completely known yet to people how intense this can be. So I think this will be kind of rough both for OpenAI in the future, and I think it's going to be rough for Sam later. I mean, he does understand that his company is, like, at least firmly in his hands at the particular moment, because everyone was like, I'll leave and follow you, but it's a little hard to think about controlling that company as a board member or anywhere else. It's a little, reminds me of what people talk about with you know, you need to have a certain level of, like, cult, honestly, in startups, because a lot of these people are doing it for outsized impact, and you can have smaller and smaller groups of people working on something for bigger and bigger impact. And yeah, there's like this other, okay, so the last thing that I thought was like crazy about OpenAI, and this is apparently something that happened a little bit in the past, was one of the like C-suite members commissioned a wooden effigy from a local artist that was intended to represent unaligned AGI, and burned it. And AGI is the artificial general intelligence, which most people are kind of afraid of, for the idea of like the Terminator and Skynet and not having the right kind of boundaries around what artificial intelligence can do, etc., etc. Anyway, so I thought that was very fascinating about like a company and what they were doing. As someone who's worked in technology, I honestly don't like the story of them burning an effigy, like, and having a chant about, and that Slack reacts for feel the AGI, like, that doesn't actually surprise me. I think people are really like, oh my god, what are they doing? That's not what they do at my workplace. But I would say, like, working in technology is not the same as working other places. Like, that sounds like something that would happen in a technology space to me. I don't think it's something that you'd have at, I don't know, a hospital or a school, but like, not, you also wouldn't have happy hours at those and drinking like on the clock. So that one doesn't surprise me as much as a lot of people do, but I think it's worth mentioning. Oh, these colors, that's a pretty okay palette. Got like horrible lighting, it's not picking up. It's very soft. Anyway, so yeah, those are the things I just want to highlight from OpenAI as being like particularly interesting, rather than a recap of the story of like what's happened till now. Most things we all of course want to know is like, what does not being consistently candid to the board mean, and what was it about? Because this isn't like a lot of other stories where somebody ends up getting ousted because they're a huge detriment to the profitability of a company, or they're too much in the news, or they had like a scandal like sexual in nature or religious in nature or hate speech in it. Like, it's none of those. So what does the consistently candid part mean for the particular ousting of Sam now? I kind of really want to know what that means. I want to know who knew what about like him being ousted when, because like how did they get that CEO so quickly in place? And then also I'd love more than anything to be on the fly on a wall in Microsoft when they're making these decisions about bringing them on, taking the whole team with them, like lots of really interesting like little corporate things that you're probably never gonna see in other areas. So I'm sure we'll hear more about it in the next couple days. If I'm doing predictions at this point, I'm thinking OpenAI's story arc in the news is probably gonna simmer down now. We're not gonna have a breaking story every few hours or every other day. I think they're really gonna be like, Sam's back at OpenAI and he's gonna try and keep a low profile. I think that's what's gonna go down. But like now we've opened that can of worms, so I think people are still gonna be really interested in hearing more. So I do hope we get to hear more. It's one of the things that I'm fascinated by private companies. I think they're so interesting. You hear anything that breaks about them and you're like, oh my God, what's this? But the thing about private companies at this level is that they can have such impact and be spending so much money or doing so many things, and the story's just very unclear, right? Because they're not public. They don't have to put anything in like the news. They don't have to answer all the questions. All their KPIs don't have to be out there. It's not when you get to just read the readout for anything that's on the public market and be like, oh, they did really well here, this is their plan, blah blah. They don't have to. So it's so behind closed doors, or you only get little pieces of the story until you might have something like, you know, Sam Brinkman-Fried and FTX, and finding out, oh, lots of stuff wasn't aligning and there wasn't any due diligence. But you don't know that until there's like this gigantic investigation going on. So that's something that I hope we get to find out more, because I think private companies are fascinating. And as for the Anastasia Beverly Hills collection, because we're still looking at the makeup, I love this bag, but I think it's a lot of space for like very few products. Like, you have so much in here, and I did not like, that's all the stuff you get for then having spent all of this space for the makeup. And then having this giant mirror and a thing that you probably wouldn't really use is kind of strange to me. But it was still fun. I liked the packaging. So there we have it. Hopefully more to come soon. Have a good night. Like and subscribe, and in the comments let me know your favorite fact about the OpenAI situation, because there's lots of weird things happening. Thank you. Good night.